Japanese media isn't exactly obscure these days. Anime, a highly esoteric form of animation, is so popular with English-speaking people that there's a dedicated streaming service for it. Even Netflix has made whatever this is 3 times! And when it comes to Japanese films in the West, there's a pretty established canon. From the 40s and 50s there's Kurosawa, Ozu and Mizoguchi. And then there's people who come up on the internet a lot, like Hayao Miyazaki, Hideaki Anno, and whoever it was that directed Redline. But the problem is, if you're like me and you don't speak Japanese, the only thing you're gonna be able to watch is whatever gets translated. And that sucks. A lot of cool stuff never gets an English localization, unless it's by fans. Fan subbing, which is done by fans of the series for free, is how a lot of niche stuff ends up getting English translations. The problem is whoever does it has to be talented enough to translate the work to another language without losing that specific special thing that makes the work what it is. Or, and this is what most people did before the internet, you go see whatever a company puts out. This works out on occasion because companies can also be made by fan subbers and people interested in that sort of stuff. But frequently, it severely limits what we get to see. Importing a film pre-internet was a huge risk financially for distributors, and a lot of the time, these films were marketed by how exotic they were. And when I say exotic, I'm talking about the idea of people being fascinated with something because it's foreign to them. Often, whatever Japanese film got imported was marketed one of 2 ways. Either it had to be considered as a high art film, something deep about humanity, or it had to be extremely fucking weird. A lot of this stuff started in the 90s, so you might think, oh, the internet probably fixed this, right? No. While the internet has been somewhat good for accessibility, it's still really difficult to discover things without somebody telling you to go out of your way and watch it. And that's only getting worse as search engines become more useless over time. Let's take a look at one of my favorite filmmakers. But not that one. Juzo Itami. His most popular film with English-speaking viewers is Tampopo. On Letterboxd, a social media site for tracking what movies you've watched, over 84,000 people say they've seen it. So let's take a look at the numbers of his other films. He made 9 others, and bear in mind, Itami was hugely popular in Japan. He was an actor before he even started directing. All of them added together make just over a quarter of the amount of people who have seen Tampopo. But I get it, because the most important thing isn't knowing a film exists, it's being able to watch it. And Tampopo is the one that constantly gets translated and put into cinemas, on DVD and on Blu-ray, because it's the only one people know exists. Meanwhile, in Japan, Tampopo is like a random, less important film in Itami's wider filmography. He's more famous for everything else on this list. For example, one of his other movies, Mimbo, was so good and so effective at what it wanted to do that Itami was actually attacked by Yakuza members who were upset over their representation in the film. And that one's not even sold here. A couple of other Itami films did come out on DVD in the West. But just look at the English poster for this one, A Taxing Woman. This is a movie about collecting taxes from business owners. Why would you put the word sexy on here? And I'm gonna be honest, I don't think the color purple is even in this movie. And what the hell is this tagline? Just to be clear, this isn't an isolated case. Tons of other movies get localized here because of how weird and exotic they are, like House, directed by Nobuhiko Obayashi. That's why I'm making this video, because there's one filmmaker that I think is so talented, so engaging to watch, and so perfect for English-speaking viewers, and his name is Koki Mitani, which is why it baffles me that nobody knows him. In fact, Mitani is so unknown in the West that all of the footage I sourced for him, all the B-roll of him talking in interviews or whatever, I had to search his name in Japanese to find it, because there's no English interviews with him. It's either that or YouTube's search engine sucks. So, why Koki Mitani? Well, Mitani got his start as a playwright and as a screenwriter, so his focus has always been on trying to make extremely good drama. His work is hilarious most of the time. And it's serious when it needs to be. His writing really strikes a balance between being comedic and being dramatic. I'm not joking when I say I've cried watching several of his films when I was laughing like 10 seconds ago. And the reason I think Mitani's work is so accessible for English fans is that Mitani loves English media. That's not to say that Mitani doesn't have any other influences, or that his work is a shameless ripoff, but you can really see the stuff Mitani loves as it gets filtered through his work. Like Columbo, or Sherlock Holmes, or 40s Hollywood films. Mitani got his cinematic start during the 90s, and at the time, Japan's bubble economy had just burst. Most major studios weren't able to make their money back on big budget films anymore because people just didn't have the money to go see them. And at the same time, a lot of people had started watching films at home through the rise of VHS. Because of that, the Japanese film industry was shifting towards newer filmmakers, who used cheaper and more creative ways to tell stories. And the Japanese films made during this period gained a lot of international attention because of it. These newer 90s filmmakers grew up in the 60s, aka post-World War II, during a period where American influence was becoming more common in Japan. I think Mitani's work is some of the best at interrogating this relationship. There are a lot of Japanese films that imitate American comedies, but none of them tie the American influence into the DNA of the movie nearly as well as Mitani's do. Mitani's first ever project in the film industry was a movie called The Gentle 12. Mitani didn't direct it, but he did write the script for it because it was adapted from one of his plays. You know, it's funny, it's a parody of 12 Angry Men, the Sidney Lumet film with Henry Fonda. There's a jury, and they're trying to deliberate on the outcome of a case. But from a Japanese perspective, the film's extremely satirical. Japan doesn't have a jury system. That's not a joke. Japan really doesn't have a jury system. Japanese courts have a 99.9% conviction rate because of this. Actual statistic. The movie operates on two levels basically. It's a celebration of the American dramatic form, but it's also a piece of social commentary examining a flaw in Japanese society. Mitani built on this idea of social commentary in his first directed feature film, Welcome Back, Mr. McDonald. And this one actually came out in English. Well, it had English subtitles. The actual Japanese title is Radio no Jikan, which basically means The Time of Radio. Mitani actually wrote this one because it's another adaptation of one of his plays, and I think it's one of my favorite films ever made. Welcome Back, Mr. McDonald is a screwball comedy with a giant ensemble cast. This housewife wins a contest from a local radio station, and the prize is that the station will perform and record one of her plays, set in the local area. But to try to hype up viewers, because the radio station's not doing well, the play is going to be recorded live, as it's being broadcasted out, just as a marketing thing. But then, like 10 minutes before they're meant to go live, the lead actress demands they rewrite her character to be more American, and the radio station has no choice but to do it. And then another thing goes wrong, and then another thing goes wrong, and then they have to rewrite more, and cut more, and make it more American, until eventually everyone has enough, and bands together to fix the play. Welcome Back, Mr. McDonald is about the process of putting your heart and soul into something creative, but ultimately making something bad. It's about learning to love the process and the people who make art more than the final product. If you've ever had to turn in like a terrible essay or a terrible group project or anything like that, this is the movie for you. But with so many characters to juggle, how does the film introduce you to them without overwhelming the viewer? And this, I think, is where Mitani's experience as a playwright comes in handy. The film starts with an unbroken 5-minute long take, as we go from one conversation to another within this tiny room. I think it's genius because it's invisible when there's not some dickhead in a video essay explaining it to you. And the long sweeping movement of the camera has this effect of feeling like a play, like you're watching these conversations naturally unfold in front of you. The first shot of the movie is a close-up of a hand before the camera pans out to reveal how deep the set actually is. And already the movie's teaching you how to watch it. You're going to have to scan every corner of every frame to catch all the jokes, because Welcome Back, Mr. McDonald is packed. The shot's always framed to have multiple things going on. There's all these layers to pay attention to, in the foreground and the background, and it carries on throughout the entire film. It's like Donkey Kong Country or something. It's genuinely very impressive, and it comes across so effortless that you never really have to think about it. But I did. Then there's also the fact that Welcome Back, Mr. McDonald's subtext is Americanization. You know, the act of making things more American in other countries. Like fast food, for example. Or war crimes, like the McDonald in the title is actually a reference to Mackey's. This aspect of Mitani's work has only gotten more relevant as the internet continues to grow. If you're not American and you use Twitter, TikTok, or the Smosh website, you still see a lot of Americans and American culture on them, because the English language internet is dominated by American companies and American users. Calling football soccer is demented, by the way. We also spend most of the movie inside this one room. They do leave it a couple of times, but it's basically the main set, and the play it's based on only had one set too. These choices become staples of Mitani's later directed work. He always uses a giant ensemble cast. Like, just look at this poster for one of his other movies, Sweet Dreams. There's like 20 main characters on this poster, and somehow the movie is like incredibly well written and weaves together perfectly. Mitani also loves to use complex sets you revisit a lot. Like his movie The Magic Hour is based in this one giant street set, and he loves using those long takes. His movie Airport takes this to its natural endpoint and is just one long take, and somehow it's still just as tightly written as any of the others. He somehow manages to recreate the experience of a play while giving you a movie. Now, I don't know exactly what sort of image I've painted in your head about who Mitani was, or is, but his work seems fairly niche, right? It's all about US dramas for a Japanese audience, and he's referencing 40s Hollywood films that even most English-speaking people haven't seen. And a lot of his work doesn't even come out in the West, so it must not have a lot of people who watch it, right? Wrong! Koki Mitani was at the peak of Japanese popularity for decades, and still pretty much is. There's a director called Hirokazu Koreeda, who's well respected in the English-speaking world. He actually came up in the 90s Japanese film scene like I was talking about before. In his latest Netflix show, The Makanai, something you can go watch right now, there's an episode where Koki Mitani is playing himself, and it's not a reality show or anything like that. It's a piece of fiction, and Koreeda wrote it. And the scene is a fan coming up to Mitani to tell them how much they love his work. In the mid-90s, Mitani arguably created his most famous thing, a TV show called Furuhata Ninzaburo, where he wrote every single episode. On the surface, it's his version of Columbo. Each episode starts by showing you a murder being committed and the murderer, and then you spend the rest of the episode seeing how the titular detective is going to catch the killer. Each episode takes place in a new location with a new murderer, and they're usually someone famous. But Furuhata Ninzaburo isn't a ripoff, or anything like that. It's instead one of the most creative twists on an idea that I've ever seen. Instead of having an unassuming detective wearing a squalid beige trenchcoat, Furuhata always wears this stylish black suit with no tie. Plus he walks about like he's Mr. Burns from The Simpsons. Columbo is all about wearing the murder suspect down through persistence, trying to bring their defenses down just enough till they mess up, and he can capitalize on it. Furuhata doesn't get this luxury. That's because every episode of Furuhata Ninzaburo is roughly 45 minutes, but Columbo on average is nearly double at 90. Furuhata just doesn't have time to wait, so instead he literally entraps them. A cab. There are so many great little touches that make Furuhata unique. Like, Furuhata has an assistant called Imaizumi who is just like the worst guy ever at his job. A cab. Or even better, Furuhata opens every episode in this black void, where he talks directly to you and gives you a hint on how he's going to catch the killer. And then right before he does, towards the end of every episode, the lights will dim down and he'll tell you, come on man, how can you not love that? It's so good. Mitani's writing, as well as the rest of the filmmaking, is so brilliant and so creative that every episode feels like I'm watching The Rock and Vin Diesel do halo jumps into a car or something. Let me just be clear, Furuhata Ninzaburo was one of the most popular TV shows in Japanese history. Like Takuya Kimura, the singer, the actor, and the guy from the Judgment Games is in Furuhata as a guest murderer. Twice. First as just some random guy who wants to blow up an observational Ferris wheel thing, and then the second time as himself, as a member of his boy band SMAP, along with the other 4 members of the band, and all 5 of them together murder the guy. That's like if NSYNC were the killers in a Columbo episode, and then also somehow Justin Timberlake ended up in the Judgment Games. And technically, we did get a little bit of Furuhata in the West, because the main theme of the show is in DDR for some reason. Even Phoenix Wright is inspired by Furuhata. The entire pacing of the game is stolen from a Season 2 episode, and there's like 2 people on the English-speaking internet who have even said this. Is everything inspired by Koki Mitani? I just love everything about Furuhata's design. He always has this perfect quiff. He just has extremely good comedic timing. Mitani's writing in Furuhata is brilliant because it'll find new ways to surprise you with something as unoriginal as a murder mystery. Like, what if Furuhata went on a quiz show? 古畑任三郎です。自己紹介は結構です。
古畑さんはなんと現職の刑事さんです。
Or he was your neighbor. Mitani isn't just influential inside of Japan either. One of his plays, University of Laughs, is fairly popular around the world, but not in its original form. But before that, let's take a quick look at the Japanese movie adaptation, because I love it. It's set pre-World War II during a time of Japanese censorship and focuses on one playwright who's trying to get his comedy play through the government censor who keeps blocking it. The irony is the censorship ends up actually making the play better because it forces the playwright to get creative to get around the censorship. And as the play goes on, the two of them start to realize they're actually more similar than they think. The play version of University of Laughs had only 2 actors and a single stage set, but this would never cross your mind watching the movie. You'll never see a single room this many different ways. And the play seems to connect with a lot of people because there's been multiple adaptations. There's a Ukrainian adaptation, a British adaptation, and the one I'm writing right now. And I think this play gets to the core of what makes Mitani's stuff so special. His work is both timeless and universal. Anybody could watch his stuff and pull something personal out of it. Life isn't always experiencing the sad parts and then the funny parts. Most of the time we have to deal with the both of them together. The experience of life is absurd because it's contradictory, but the way Mitani moves between the two is unlike any other filmmaker I've ever seen. Despite being set in very specific 1930s Japan, University of Laughs is about so many large ideas that are incredibly personal at the same time, like politics, or friendship, or how truly expressive art will always survive through anything. And I think that perfectly sums up where his work is in the West. On paper, Mitani should be the easiest commission check for any executive at a major film distribution company, but his stuff barely got a chance in the West. It's not like they didn't try either. They did with Welcome Back Mr. McDonald, but like if you saw this DVD, would you pick it up? I don't know what they were going for with this harsh blue and this yellow, but the point is, this movie was barely seen by people because most of them weren't even aware of it. The rest of Mitani's entire career didn't make it overseas because one film was advertised badly. The real lesson, I think, is that there is so much good art out there that we're not even exposed to. This is one highly specific filmmaker from one highly specific country. And instead of always looking towards the future of film, maybe we can learn something by looking at the past. If I can leave you with something, it's this. First of all, watch Mitani stuff, but secondly, try to watch something that's outside of your comfort zone as well. If I hadn't done that, I would never have found Koki Mitani, and he's one of my favorite filmmakers now. It doesn't even have to be something as obscure as this. There's a reason why films from the 50s or whatever are called classics. They're stories that have provenly stood the test of time. And who knows, maybe you'll find something that makes you want to explain why you love it to strangers on the internet. And I think that's beautiful. But none of that superhero shit.